Howdy. Today I was in the mood to watch some mindless action, and oh boy did I find the perfect candidate. Diablo is a new action thriller about a former criminal kidnapping the daughter of a Colombian gangster. The screenplay was written by Matt Sansom, and the film was directed by Ernesto Diaz Espinosa. It stars Scott Adkins, Alana De La Rosa, and Mark Zara. Diablo is a very basic film. The story is essentially an excuse to have a bunch of big fights with very little detail or emotion built into it. It follows Chris, a foreigner to Colombia, trying to flee the country with Elisa, the daughter of Colombian crime lord Vincente. Elisa tries to escape from him, so he has to keep her in line while drip-feeding her the truth about why he's doing all this in the first place. Along the way, they are attacked by gang members sent by her father, and a psychopathic killer called Diablo who has a vendetta with Vincente. Cast-wise, most of the characters are playing gangsters or killers intent on trying to rescue Elisa from Chris. They don't get many lines, and they do a lot of posturing before getting ragdolled in the fights against Chris and Diablo. For main characters, you have Chris, Elisa, Diablo, and Vincente. Chris is an American thief that's come to fulfill a promise to an old friend. He tries to do everything the reasonable way when he can, but quickly finds his temper flaring out of control in a crisis. He's also an extremely skilled hand-to-hand fighter. Elisa is the spoiled daughter of Vincente. She's aware of what her father does, but tries to live her own life free from it. She's a quick-thinking girl with a fiery temper that doesn't wait for other people to try and save her. Vincente is a ruthless crime boss that doesn't accept failure. He's cruel and vindictive to his men, and quick to backstab the people he calls friends. The only redeeming feature he has is his love for his only daughter, Elisa. Diablo is a mysterious killer. He appears to shake things up, and to take extreme pleasure in hurting other people. He also likes to mess with their heads at every opportunity. A truly bizarre person that feels more like a natural disaster than a villain. The visual journey takes place in the back country of Colombia. It's a road trip across the land with a lot of stops in rural locations. There's an abandoned sawmill, a run-down gas station, and an old-fashioned diner. They stop to fist fight in each of the locations, giving the audience long melee combat sequences and a little bit of gunplay. There's also some exposition dumping snuck in every now and again to help you understand what's going on. For music, they had a few rock-style instrumentals and one Colombian folk song. There isn't a lot of music throughout the film, but they do appear during the combat scenes to try and hype up the situation. Okay, so it wasn't my favorite movie, but it did have some positives. The story is filled with non-stop action to keep your interest. Alana De La Rosa does a great job in her role, and the visual journey is clear and comes with a few standout fights. Starting with the story. It's literally just fighting from start to finish, which feels very exciting because you're constantly watching snappy editing and people risking their lives. They only stop to give you enough story to care about what's going on, and then they go right back to fighting. The fights are pretty good at going back and forth too, especially when Chris and Diablo start facing off against each other. They engage in long exchanges of blows that look amazing and really show off the physicality of both actors. Cast-wise, there aren't many good performances, but Alana De La Rosa stands out as a shining star. She's asked to play the daughter of a crime lord being kidnapped by a stranger. De La Rosa does a fantastic job of Elisa's emotional journey and fleshing out her character. She also shows off an impressive amount of screen presence even against much older actors. And she has great chemistry with Adkins and Velasco. Visually, the film does everything it needs to in a clear and concise manner. No, the locations aren't all that impressive, and the shots are very simple, but they got the story across well enough. During the action sequences, they go a little harder with the camera work and start introducing complex shots and editing. They look impressive, feel great in terms of impact, and get your blood pumping. They are still limited by budget, but they make an insane use of their stunt team to come up with coordinated dances that go on forever. The last fight between Chris and Diablo is especially brutal, with both of them getting beaten to a pulp before the end. Which brings me to the film's negatives. The story is poorly written, cliché nonsense. There's a lot of bad performances in the film, and the soundtrack is useless. Starting with the story, they don't develop the characters beyond their initial stereotype. They don't adequately explain the story or the emotions it brings out, and there's a ton of silly moments where the henchman and villain just let Chris succeed. The most egregious part is Diablo and how inconsistent he is with killing people. He's always played like a psychopath, but he doesn't kill everyone around him. Sometimes he lets them live and just taunts them. The problem is we never find out why. Like he had Chris dead several times, but just lets him go every time. There's no real reason given, and it feels completely out of character. Basically, the story feels like an unfinished mess with just cursory details filled in. The cast also struggles a lot with the material. For the general cast, they struggled to say their lines in English. Most of them do a good job with their pronunciation, but they forget that they're supposed to be playing a character. The words end up coming out wooden, and it just looks awkward. For the leads, the problem is the lack of emotion. Adkins and Zara are like two moving statues. They can fight really well, but neither of them can show anything more than a serious face and a bit of surprise. They can't muster up any emotion, and so their characters just fall flat. It's especially obvious when they're standing next to the much younger Della Rosa, and she's actually emoting quite well. Music-wise, the film just fails. They barely had any music in the first place, and the music they did use doesn't really add anything to the film. It's just noise that appears during the fight sequences. The one time they had Della Rosa sing along to a folk song was kind of a nice touch, but it wasn't long enough or important enough to make up for the rest of the lacking tracks. Personally, I won't be watching Diablo again. Its fight scenes were decent, and I'll definitely be looking out for Alana Della Rosa in the future, but the rest of the movie just isn't up to par. The story is very bland and simple, the cast doesn't do a good job of their roles, and the soundtrack is non-existent. It's just watching dudes fist fight over this girl. If you're into it, it could make for a decent watch on a rainy day. Otherwise, avoid it. There just isn't enough here to satisfy you. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 4 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye bye.